Hey everyone, my name's Brian Duran. I'm a junior here at USD. The topic I chose to discuss for a human rights topic was the interrogation techniques used by the CIA and US militaries, which is often considered to be torture. It's something that really kind of was brought to light to me, at least, in the movie Zero Dark 30, which, if any of you don't know, it's about the events leading up to and the eventual raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in Pakistan. Um, the movie showed in some fairly gruesome detail what one prisoner in particular went through while he was being interrogated by the CIA. I think that was the first time I've personally really ever seen much about it. I know, like in the article that I'll present later, it shows some pictures, which was all the way back from 2004. But I guess for me, it was the first time that kind of issue has really been ever brought to light for me. Um, I guess in my personal opinion, for the most part, I guess I don't have an issue with the interrogation techniques used from a side of, or I guess from the viewpoint of looking at it to where it is going to save a lot of American lives. I don't see a problem with it there. The treatment itself obviously is pretty gruesome, and if I were on the other side of it, I'm sure I would see things quite differently. But when you look at something like what they did when they captured Bin Laden, it's hard to imagine how many American lives they possibly saved by doing that. And they got all of their information, or a good majority of their information, from this one in particular man who led them to several other situations. So I guess in that sense, I don't have an issue with it. From a human rights sense, obviously, it's a pretty nasty thing, but it's something that's been around for a very long time, and has been proven successful. And I think no matter how many times we try to get rid of it, it's probably never really going to go away for sure because it's pretty easy for them to cover a lot of that stuff up. And then, like I said, if I was the one on the other side of things, if I was the one being tortured or had obviously friends or family going through those kind of scenarios, I would probably be an advocate against it. So that's why it's kind of a tough issue really to talk about. The article that I actually found it via Google Scholar, and it's called "Regarding the Torture of Others" by Susan Sontag, and she wrote, or she, I guess I don't know if she still does or not, but she wrote this article for the New York Times back in May of 2004. I found it to be interesting for a couple different reasons. When like a lot of the high ups in the White House during that time were questioned on a lot of the issues that were seen when it comes to torture, they did a really good job of kind of dancing around the question, and they would be presented pictures by the media, and they would say things like, "No, that's a horrible picture," or "That photograph looks terrible," stuff like that, where they would make it seem like the photograph itself was actually the problem and not actually what was going on in the photograph. And another way they danced around it, our Secretary of Defense at the time was questioned on all of these photographs that had surfaced, and he basically said that what he saw was abuse, not necessarily torture, and he also called the Al Qaeda prisoners. He said that they were called unlawful, or he called them unlawful combatants. So they were therefore exempt from the Geneva Convention, which, if you don't know, is a series of rights basically given to the civilians and prisoners of war when they're captured. Um, I wanted to use this article because it presents a really strong case for opposition against kind of how I guess I feel about it. I don't want to say it changed my opinion on it, but it definitely brought to light some things that I guess I didn't really know about how many things they tried to cover up and all of it. So, um, in conclusion, I guess that's the human rights issue that I wanted to present on, or that I'm looking more into. I find it pretty interesting, and especially with all that's come come to light with ISIS lately and all of their killings and the torture that those people are having to go through, I think it's going to become an even more talked about issue and something that I'd like to learn more about.